The rain had been pouring since the afternoon, warm, heavy, and gloomy, like a curtain of sadness falling over the small riverside street. An Nhien pulled down the metal shutter of her restaurant, warm kitchen, halfway while still holding a dripping mop. As she cleaned, she couldn't help wondering why she still insisted on keeping this place alive. A tiny shop with only 4 tables, 2 warm yellow lights, and the scent of broth clinging to the walls like her grandmother's memories. At least it's still a place to return to, she told herself. At 27, An Nhien no longer feared loneliness, only the fear of no longer being needed by anyone. The rain thickened. Wind whistled through the cracks of the door, sounding like gentle knocking on the porch. She looked up, intending to close the door, when she noticed a faint white glow spreading from the back door of the kitchen, a door that normally led only to a storage space and a tiny garbage area. Her heart pounded. The light wasn't like electricity or a flashlight, it was blindingly white, cold, and silent, like the frozen breath of winter. She walked closer, her hand trembling as she reached for the handle. Probably just a short circuit, she muttered, but still pulled the door open. A blast of icy air hit her like a knife. Before her eyes was no familiar narrow alley, but a vast white field stretching to the horizon. The wind screamed, snowflakes stung her cheeks. The sharp metallic scent of ash and frost filled her nose. An Nhien staggered back, nearly falling. She tried to shut the door, but then a faint, hoarse voice rose through the storm. "Help! Help me!" She turned quickly. A girl around 16 was kneeling in the snow, clothes torn, lips purple, eyes wide with terror. Without thinking, An Nhien ran out, grabbed the girl, and dragged her into the restaurant. The moment the door closed, the wind stopped. The snow vanished. The white light faded. The familiar kitchen returned, only the lingering cold on the tiles and the trembling girl on the chair remained. An Nhien hurriedly put a sweater on the girl and boiled ginger water. The girl looked around, as if unable to believe what she saw. Warm light, the scent of broth, the sound of rain instead of howling wind. After a while, the girl whispered, where am I? There's no snow, no them." An Nhien didn't answer directly. She simply said, "This is my restaurant. Rest here. I'll get you something warm to eat." She kneaded dough into noodles and dropped them into the last pot of chicken broth. Steam filled the tiny kitchen, chasing away the cold. When she placed the steaming bowl in front of the girl stared at it in awe. "What's your name?" "Lanchi." "All right, Lanchi, eat while it's hot." Lanchi lifted the noodles with trembling hands. With each bite, her eyes quivered until finally tears slipped down her cheeks, mixing with the broth. "It's been so long since I last ate anything warm. Over there, people freeze before they even get their last hot meal." And he didn't know what to say. She only sat quietly, watching the girl eat, feeling something indescribable. Pity, fear, and an overwhelming curiosity. Over there, where was there? After finishing, Lanchi collapsed on the table and fell asleep. An Nhien covered her with a thin blanket and looked toward the back door again. The faint glow still leaked through the cracks. She opened it again. This time, the wind wasn't as violent, but the world was still wide and endless. Far away, dark figures moved slowly, and the metallic clatter of buns echoed faintly. A long, hoarse roar drifted across the storm. An Nhien instantly slammed the door shut. Her whole body broke into cold sweat. All night she sat by the stove, watching the trembling yellow light, heart pounding to the rhythm of the wind outside. The next morning, when she woke, Lanchi was gone. On the table was a crystal, cold and shimmering with pale blue light, refusing to melt in her palm. Next to it, a sheet of torn paper. "Thank you. If the door opens again, I will return." An Nhien stared at the crystal for a long time. Its glow reflected her own eyes, eyes that had never known such fear. Her grandmother used to say, "The kitchen is the last place that holds human warmth." But grandmother had never warned her that sometimes, that warmth could reach across to another world. An Nhien tightened her grip on the crystal. Outside, rain began to fall again. The back door creaked, softly, like an invitation from the frozen world beyond. By the third night after meeting Lanchi, warm kitchen was once again wrapped in stillness. An Nhien sat behind the counter, waiting for the kettle to boil. The rain outside had stopped, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that the storm hadn't truly passed. She had tried opening the back door several times. Each time, it showed only the familiar storage room. Everything seemed to have returned to normal, until tonight. When the clock struck midnight, the door trembled softly, and then the white light burst out again. Brighter than before, so bright it made the ceiling light flicker. An Nhien stood up, gripping a small fruit knife. She wasn't as frightened as the first time, but her heart still raced. She opened the door. A wave of icy air slapped her face, carrying mist and the scorched smell of smoke. Snow still covered the ground, but this time an orange-red glow flickered in the distance, accompanied by the roar of engines. Rusted armored vehicles crawled through the storm, headlights sweeping across bundled figures clutching rifles. A low, commanding voice echoed through a loudspeaker. "Hold formation. Do not split off. One more drop in temperature and you'll freeze to death." An Nhien held her breath. She wanted to slam the door shut, but then a shout came from her right. Someone is over there." A blinding beam from a headlight hit her straight in the eyes. She raised her arm instinctively, blinking against the glare. Through the howling wind, a tall man approached, rifle lowered but gaze sharp and cautious. His uniform was faded, his long coat crusted with ice. A dull silver badge on his shoulder read, HSC. His voice was low, rough from cold air. "Who are you? Evacuee? Or an aberration?" An Nhien stepped back half a pace, her voice trembling. I'm the owner of this restaurant. This is my home." He frowned. More soldiers gathered behind him, weapons raised. "There are no homes here," one muttered. "This area was wiped out months ago." The wind pelted snowflakes into her skin like needles. Behind her was the glowing doorway and her warm restaurant. Before her, a dead world she didn't understand. A sudden thought struck her: if they step inside, maybe they'll believe she isn't an enemy. She called out, "Come inside. It's warm in here, there's food." The soldiers exchanged confused looks, but the wind was brutal, and the warmth spilling from the doorway was impossible to ignore. The man, someone behind him had called him Kaimin, gave a sharp gesture. "Check it." 3 soldiers entered first. Within seconds, the snow on their coats melted. The wind quieted. They froze, staring wide-eyed at the small restaurant, its yellow light, the steam rising from the pot. The smell of ginger, of simmering broth, of chopped scallions, a scent belonging to a world long gone. Kaimin stepped in last. For a moment, a rare smile flickered across his stern face. "Impossible, it's actually warm." An Nhien quickly prepared bowls of noodles and placed them before the soldiers. "Eat. There are no enemies in here." No one touched the food until Kaimin removed his gloves, sat, and picked up his bowl. He ate slowly, very slowly, eyes dark, filled with emotions she couldn't read. "I forgot what spiciness tastes like," he murmured, as if speaking to himself. The atmosphere grew warmer. Hardened, exhausted faces softened, quiet chuckles rose, awkward but real. An Nhien watched silently from behind the counter. She realized that beneath the cold uniforms were people who had lived too long in despair. They ate as if afraid the food might vanish. When the others left, only Kaimin remained. He put the bowl down gently. "Thank you. An Nhien, right? I am Kaimin, commander of Hang Sun Base." She nodded. "You can come back if your side needs somewhere warm." He gave a faint, weary smile, eyes reflecting the distant glow of fire from the snowy world. "There aren't many places with light left, but if this door stays open, I will return." Before stepping through the doorway, he glanced around the restaurant once more. The warm yellow light brushed across his face, his eyes deep and cold, but no longer completely hollow. When the door closed, An Nhien sank into a chair, heart still racing. The noodles still steamed on the table, spreading their warm, spicy scent. She gazed at the spot where he had sat and whispered, "You're right, there's still light in this world." Outside, rain began to fall again, soft, rhythmic. Inside warm kitchen, the broth boiled once more, like a heartbeat rekindled by a breath from another world. Warm and resilient, standing between 2 frozen universes. Warm kitchen returned to its quiet rhythms. During the day, An Nhien worked like any other small restaurant owner, serving rice meals, cooking noodle bowls, listening to the mix of traffic and coffee aromas drifting along the street. But ever since the night she met An Nhien, she felt as if there was always another path somewhere, a way into a faraway world, one she might stumble into by opening the wrong door. She tried several times in the following days. The back door remained silent, nothing but stacked rice bags and bottles of sauce behind it. She began thinking everything had been a dream. But then, on a night filled with sudden downpour, while she was simmering a pot of bone broth, the white light returned. Cold air swept into the kitchen, carrying the smell of charred metal and smoke. An Nhien gripped the ladle, unafraid this time, only focused. The door opened. Standing there was An Nhien, soaked in snow, coat dripping, eyes burning sharply even in the dark. "Sorry to trouble you again. You know the way," she replied softly, surprising herself with her own calmness. He gave a tired smile and stepped in, melting snow trailing behind him. She poured him a cup of ginger tea and set it on the table. Neither spoke. Only the wind outside and the bubbling pot filled the silence. An Nhien ate slowly, quietly. Sometimes he lifted his gaze, as though trying to memorize every corner of her little restaurant. When the bowl was nearly empty, he set down his chopsticks. "Do you know," he said quietly, "in our world, places with warmth like this are called hope points. And this place," he looked around, "this place is something we believed existed only in memories." An Nhien lowered her gaze. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from something she couldn't explain. He continued, "I thought people had forgotten how to feel flavor. We eat to survive, not to remember. And now," his voice softened, "now I know, I'm still alive." Her breath caught. Their eyes met, only for a heartbeat, but in that glance she saw a small, stubborn glow deep within him, like a coal burning under layers of snow. From that night on, An Nhien came more often. Not every time the door opened, but often enough that she felt the world between them shrinking. Sometimes he only drank tea, silent and thoughtful. Sometimes he brought small blue crystals as payment. She never accepted them, he never insisted. A quiet rhythm formed, a connection without needing words. He told her about his world, a frozen planet where the sun shone only 2 hours a day. The Hang Sun base once housed thousands, now only a few hundred survived. Children grew up without knowing what spring was. "We once burned books for warmth," he said, eyes distant. "Then, when the books ran out, people burned their own homes." And Nhien quietly poured more hot water into the kettle. "So when I saw this place, I thought I was dreaming." "If it is a dream," she replied gently, "don't wake up." He looked at her, not smiling, but with warmth in his eyes. Outside, the wind softened, as though listening. Some nights, after he left, she stood by the crack of the glowing door, watching his figure fade into the snow, feeling strangely peaceful, yet hollow in his absence. A man as quiet as winter, yet somehow carrying a warmth she could not forget. During the day, she returned to her routine, serving customers, chatting with regulars. But at night, she always listened for the wind. Part of her heart remained in that snowy world, where a small restaurant's golden light pierced frozen darkness. One evening, when An Nhien arrived, he was carrying a small girl, around 10 years old, thin and frostbitten. "She's the daughter of an energy engineer," he said, "injured when the base partially collapsed. I couldn't leave her behind." The girl wheezed weakly, mumbling incoherently. An Nhien rushed them inside and sat the child down. "Wait here." She reheated ginger water, cooked thin rice porridge, and laid a warm cloth across the girl's forehead. An Nhien watched quietly, eyes soft, posture tense. "Aren't you afraid?" he asked suddenly. "Of what? That I might bring danger from the other side?" An Nhien shook her head. "You've brought warmth here before, that's enough." He lowered his head, hiding a faint smile. When the girl finally awoke, she blinked around in wonder. "Auntie, what's that nice smell?" "Just rice porridge," An Nhien answered, though her heart warmed unexpectedly. That night, when An Nhien left, the child slept soundly, her cheeks pink again. He stood at the doorway, snow swirling behind him. "I owe you," he said. "If you ever need help, just open the door. You think I'm brave enough to step through it?" He smiled, tired, warm. "You don't need to be brave. You just need to trust." Then he vanished into the storm. The door closed. Only the scent of ginger and the child's breathing remained. An Nhien couldn't sleep that night. She sat at the counter, staring at a cold cup of ginger tea while rain whispered against the roof. She realized, ever since that doorway opened, her heart was no longer empty. Somewhere beyond that frozen land was a man holding on to the warmth she passed to him, one bowl at a time. Maybe, she thought, light doesn't only come from the sun. Sometimes, it comes from a person. Morning at warm kitchen felt impossibly peaceful considering that, just the night before, the back door had opened into a dying world. An Nhien wiped the tables, watching sunlight spill softly through the window. The girl from the other side, the daughter of the energy engineer, was still asleep in the small room at the back. An Nhien had given her a temporary name, Mai. Everything seemed normal again, except for one thing. Inside the drawer now lay a blue crystal, the size of an egg, glowing faintly with a shifting inner light. Kai Min had left it behind the previous night, saying it was to keep the child warm. But ever since the crystal appeared, the temperature inside the restaurant felt slightly higher, and every appliance seemed to run unusually smoothly. An Nhien touched the crystal. A streak of blue light rippled across its surface. Instantly, the ceiling light flickered, then burst into a blinding white glow. What on earth? She gasped, stumbling back. The light died quickly, but the unease in her chest lingered. Just a few hours later, the police knocked on her door. The man who entered was Mindung, an old friend of An Nhien and now deputy chief of a special investigation team. He wore casual clothing, but his expression was serious. "Long time no see, An Nhien, you're here for lunch," she tried to joke weakly. "If you call lunch collecting evidence, then yes." He placed a satellite photo on the table. Right in the center of her street, a bright energy flare was marked, located exactly where her restaurant stood. There was a mild radiation spike last night. "Do you know anything about it? Are you kidding me? I only cook food, Dung. I'm not building nuclear bombs." Dung stared directly into her eyes. The National Energy Center detected what looks like a regenerative energy crystal, something unknown to science. And the first signal came from your restaurant. An Nhien froze. The image of the blue crystal flashed in her mind. "I didn't do anything wrong, Dung. Maybe it's just a power issue." "I believe you," he said quietly, "but my superiors don't. They've already sent people to monitor this area." After he left, An Nhien sat numbly at the table. Outside, she spotted a black car parked across the street. A man in a dark suit spoke into an earpiece, eyes fixed on her restaurant signboard. She realized the door was no longer her secret. That night, she didn't dare open the back door. Yet she could hear faint knocking from the other side, thump, thump, like a heartbeat calling to her. She picked up a flashlight and walked toward it. "Kai Min," she whispered. No answer. Just as she turned away, the door burst open. A blast of frigid air swept in. Kai Min stepped through, covered in snow, eyes red from exhaustion. "Don't be afraid. It's me." "Why are you here now?" "The base was attacked. A rogue group infiltrated and stole the energy crystals. I think someone is linking the two worlds." She stared at him, stunned. "Linking them? You mean someone on your side knows about the door?" The air in the kitchen turned heavy. He scanned the room as if fearing hidden observers. "They're not after the energy alone. They want the gateway." A shiver went down her spine. "What do we do now?" "I need to bring you to the other side. We must identify where the energy signature truly begins." She stepped back. "I've never crossed before. If you don't come, someone else will find this place, and they won't be as gentle as I am." And he looked at him. Under the dim kitchen light, Kai Min's face was pale with fatigue, but his eyes held a steady, grounding strength, the kind of strength that made her trust him. "All right," she whispered, "but I'll come back. This restaurant is my home, I promise." He smiled faintly, then opened the door. Snow swirled violently outside. An Nhien took a deep breath and stepped through. The cold hit her instantly, seeping into her bones. Silence enveloped her, a deep, suffocating silence unlike anything in her world. The sky was a bleak, endless gray, the ground a sea of white, and in the distance stood the Hang Sun base, a fortress half buried in frost, its dim lights flickering like dying embers. "Welcome to the end of the world," Kai Min said, voice both solemn and gentle. She stood frozen in place, overwhelmed. The world she had only glimpsed from a doorway was now stretching endlessly before her. beautiful and merciless, like a dream with no way back. As they walked toward the base, she saw crowds huddled by fires, children clutching cold pots of soup, eyes empty and haunted. A young woman stood up upon seeing Kaimin. "Commander, the retrieval team still hasn't returned." He nodded. "Bring them to the main chamber. Prepare the energy sector." No one questioned who An Nhien was. Being beside Kaimin was enough. Inside the main chamber, rows of old generators hummed weakly. Dozens of blue crystals glowed within glass cylinders, each pulse like a beating heart. "This is our lifeline," he said. "Each crystal can heat the base for 2 days. Recently, several have gone missing. You think people on my side are involved. I don't want to believe it, but the energy signatures match." An Nhien clenched her fists. Memories flashed. Mindung's warning, the man in the black suit, the emblem on his chest, Vanson Corp. Before returning, Kaimin placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "Are you afraid?" "Yes. But if I don't open the door, you'll freeze out there." He let out a soft laugh, a rare, warm sound. "You really are the strangest light I've ever seen." When she stepped back into her restaurant, the clock still read 12:05 a.m., as if no time had passed at all. Outside, the same black car sat parked across the street. The man in the suit looked toward the restaurant, lips pressed into a thin line. On his chest, the fading emblem read,
An Nhien.
An Nhien closed the door slowly. The blue crystal's glow reflected in her eyes, beautiful but dangerous. A world was cracking apart, and she, holding the key between the two, no longer had a way out. 12 o'clock chimed softly. Rain fell beyond the window. The warm light in warm kitchen flickered, no longer just a beacon of comfort, but the lone spark standing against the darkness creeping towards both worlds. Snow fell so heavily that even patrolling silhouettes disappeared behind the white curtain. From the window of her temporary room, An Nhien watched the endless expanse outside, an indistinguishable merge of sky and earth. Hang Sun Base lay trapped inside a valley, built from concrete, steel, and the last hopes of those who survived. But tonight, it looked more like a massive tomb. Kaimin had left early that morning. He said he needed to attend an emergency meeting with the squad leaders to investigate the stolen energy crystals. Ever since An Nhien arrived, the air inside the base had changed, tense, heavy, tinged with suspicion. People stared at her as though her presence was an ominous sign. She sat down, gripping a cup of cold tea. The chill bit into her skin. In the corner, little Mai curled beneath the blanket, still asleep, her small face peaceful despite the world outside. An Nhien gently brushed a strand of hair from the girl's forehead. "Sleep well, little one," she whispered. "I'll take you to somewhere warm, I promise." That afternoon, Kaimin returned. He stepped inside, pale and streaked with dried blood. An Nhien jumped to her feet. "You're hurt." "It's not my blood," he said hoarsely. A patrol team was ambushed. 2 dead, 3 missing. His voice cracked slightly, his eyes were hollow from exhaustion. "Someone leaked their position. There is a traitor inside the base." An Nhien froze. She looked at him, his calm face contrasted sharply with the fist clenched so tightly that veins bulged. "They think it's me," he added quietly. "I'm the only one with unrestricted access to the energy sector. And you." He paused, meeting her eyes. "You're the only one who came from another world." Her heart tightened. "Do you think I'm involved?" "No," his answer came instantly. "But they do." That night, when the entire base entered lockdown, shouts erupted outside. A group of soldiers surrounded the central chamber. "Arrest Commander Kaimin. He's a traitor. He's hiding an aberration." And he rushed to the hallway and saw Kaimin standing amidst the crowd, arms raised. Snowflakes settled on his shoulders. Headlights cast sharp shadows across his face. "Who gave the order?" he asked calmly. "Deputy Commander Luong. He has proof." A gaunt man in a thick coat stepped forward, holding up a small cloth bag. Inside was a marked energy crystal, one identical to the one stored in Kaimin's private vault. "This," Luong declared coldly, "was found in your quarters." The soldiers murmured. Kaimin didn't react. He simply stared at Luong with quiet, chilling clarity. "You staged this well." "And her," Luong pointed at An Nhien. "This woman who appeared from nowhere, she's the reason the gateway opened. Maybe the two of you are working together." Dozens of eyes turned toward her. Her legs trembled, but she didn't step back. "If I were a traitor," she said, voice shaking but firm, "I wouldn't have saved that child or helped keep this base alive. I only cook meals. I only want people to live." Silence. Then Luong said, "Detain them both. Investigation will follow." The detention cell was freezing. Harsh white light flickered across cracked cement walls. Kai Min sat with his back against the wall, silent. An Nhien hugged her knees, trying to stay warm. After a long moment, she asked, "Do you know who framed you?" "Yes." "Then why don't you say it?" "No proof," he replied, eyes half closed. "If I name him now, they'll kill me before I can prove anything." Frustration burned behind her ribs. "If you stay silent, they'll kill both of us." He gave a faint, tired smile. "If that happens, at least I won't die alone." She turned away abruptly, her heart twisting painfully. Only the wind howled through the cracks in the door. Near midnight, a deafening explosion ripped through the base. The walls of the cell shook violently, dust rained from the ceiling. Lights burst and went dark. Kai Min jumped up, pulling An Nhien into a corner. "Get down." The next blast shattered part of the wall. Debris flew everywhere, smoke filled the air. Shouts echoed. "The base is under attack." They found the energy vault. Kai Min shielded her with his body from falling rubble. "Van Sin's forces found a way through," he muttered. "They know how to cross the gateway." An Nhien stared at him in horror. "What do we do?" "We run. But first." His eyes hardened. "We need to save Mai. She knows the vault security codes. If they take her, everything is lost." They sprinted through choking smoke and collapsing corridors. Bullets ricocheted off metal beams, alarms wailed. Each time sharp debris shot past, Kai Min turned to shield her. They reached the housing wing. Mai sat on the floor crying, hugging a torn doll. "Sister An Nhien, come, sweetheart, we're going home." They ran toward the gateway room. The white glow pulsed violently, the door half open as if straining. A shell exploded nearby, the ground shook, shrapnel flew. Kai Min shoved them forward. "Go. What about you?" "I'll hold them back." "No. You promised you'd return," she shouted, tears spilling. But the light swallowed her and Mai before she could reach back. In the final moment, she saw him turn around amidst fire and smoke, eyes shining through the chaos. "I promise." Then everything went white. An Nhien collapsed onto the familiar kitchen floor. Rain pattered gently outside. The scent of ginger broth lingered, as though nothing had happened. She held Mai tightly, sobbing. Across the street, the black car still waited. The man in the suit spoke into his phone, voice cold as steel. "The gateway location is confirmed. They've returned." Outside, under the night rain, warm kitchen glowed softly again. But this time, its warmth was no longer peaceful. It was a beacon fighting the darkness spreading towards both worlds. The door flared bright, then shut, leaving behind a deadly silence. An Nhien collapsed onto the tiled floor of the restaurant, trembling, heart pounding wildly. In her arms, little Mai was still sobbing, clutching her shirt as if afraid of being dragged back through the door. Outside, rain pattered against the awning. That sound felt painfully strange, half lullaby, half reminder that somewhere else, someone was trapped in hell. She raised a hand to her chest and touched the small pendant Kai Min had once fastened around her neck. As an energy locator, it was ice cold, yet still emitted a faint light. "Kai Min," her voice caught. That final image of him, his tall frame turning away amid smoke and fire, lips forming the words "I promise," haunted her without end. 3 days passed. Warm kitchen was still open, but its warmth was gone, and he hardly slept. She sat by the window, staring blankly at the rain outside. People still came to eat, to chat, to laugh. None of them knew that beyond one wall was a door linking two worlds. She knew she was supposed to forget, to move on. But every night, in her dreams, she heard his voice in the snowstorm. "Don't come back, it's too dangerous." Then gunshots, screams, and silence. Ever since she returned, the pendant had been glowing strangely. Its light was uneven, sometimes flickering, sometimes almost dying, like a distress signal. She held it up to the mirror. The reflected light twisted into strange characters, KM12. Kai Min. She understood. Those were coordinates. On the fourth night, she made her decision. An Nhien packed in silence. She put into her backpack only what she needed: a dagger, a first aid kit, a lighter, and a box of dried rations. At the table, Mai sat watching her, face pale. "Sister Nhien, are you going again? I have to go pick up a friend, but last time you almost died." An Nhien knelt down and placed her hands on the girl's shoulders. "If I don't go, he really will die. You stay here. Don't touch the door. When I get back, I'll make you that ginger soup you like." "All right." The girl bit her lip and nodded, eyes reddened. An Nhien turned away quickly, not daring to look back. The door opened with a low, grinding hiss, like wind cutting through metal. White light swallowed her, and in an instant, the cold slashed across her skin. She fell into a thick layer of snow, her breath freezing in her lungs. Before her lay a devastated world, a leaden sky, wind howling like the lament of countless souls. Hang Sun Base was no longer intact. Half its walls had collapsed. Black smoke rose from the carcasses of abandoned tanks. No voices, only snow, blood, and mudded footprints along the rocky slope. Shivering, An Nhien moved forward, calling softly, "Kai Min." No answer. She looked down and spotted a long trail of blood on the snow, dragged toward the storage building. With each step along that trail, her heart tightened. The warehouse door was half open. She pushed it gently, the hinges screeched. Inside, a weak yellow light glowed. In the middle of the floor, Kai Min lay collapsed, clothes torn, shoulders soaked in blood. She rushed to him and fell to her knees. "Can you hear me? It's me, An Nhien." His eyes opened slowly, pupils clouded, but when he saw her, the corner of his mouth lifted faintly. Are you crazy? Why did you come back?" "Because you promised you'd return." Her throat tightened as she pressed a cloth against his wound. "If you die, that promise means nothing." He let out a low, breathless chuckle, the sound mingling with the cold air. "You're still as stubborn as ever, and you're still too reckless." In that moment, inside the ruined room, their eyes met, a fragile warmth flickering in the midst of frozen hell. Footsteps echoed from outside. An Nhien hurriedly pulled him into a corner. The door burst open. A group of soldiers stormed in, wearing the base's insignia, but in front was Deputy Commander Luong. "Seize them both," Luong barked. "I knew that woman would come back." An Nhien drew her knife and stood in front of Kai Min. "What are you doing? The base was attacked, he almost died, and you?" "Shut up," Luong snarled. "You think I don't know what you are? You're the one who brought cross-world energy here. Every disaster began with you." Kai Min pushed himself up, voice low and sharp. "Don't touch her." "You still dare defend her?" Luong sneered. "Let's see how long you can stay alive." He gestured. A soldier raised his gun, but before he could pull the trigger, a deafening explosion rocked the warehouse. The door was blown outward. White smoke filled the room. From within the smoke, a squad of figures in black armor charged in, the resistance forces outside the base. An Nhien stared in shock. One of them shouted, "Lieutenant Colonel Kai Min, we followed your signal and came." Luong's face darkened. He turned and fled. Kai Min gave a rough, hoarse laugh. "See, I still have comrades." Amidst gunfire and swirling dust, An Nhien helped him to his feet and let him out. Snow fell thicker, wind howled through broken trees. She felt as though the world itself was dying, every breath, every step accompanied by the sound of time cracking apart. When they reached a hiding place, Kai Min gripped her hand, his breathing weak. "An Nhien, if one day you're no longer here, remember, go back to that restaurant. The door will only open when you truly want to move forward." "What nonsense are you talking about?" "You're coming back with me. I might not make it." "No, you have to live." She tightened her hold on his hand, tears spilling over. "You're the one who taught me to believe there are still good people in this world, still light. You're the reason I dare to dream about tomorrow." He smiled faintly, then lost consciousness, and he looked around. A blizzard was rising, wind shrieking violently. She wrapped her arms around him, shielding him with her thick coat, shivering as she whispered, "Just hold on a little longer. I won't let you die here." Outside, the snowstorm raged, tearing up ash and blood. In the vast, cold whiteness, two bodies huddled together. A small woman using her own warmth to protect a soldier on the brink of death. The faint light from the pendant at her neck began to glow again, this time not weak, but blinding, like a beacon cutting through the apocalypse. In a snowstorm, it's easy for people to lose one another. But as long as someone keeps searching, maybe this world can still be saved. The sky had stopped screaming, but the snow was still falling thick and heavy. In the endless white, a small fire flickered weakly in a crack between the rocks. An Nhien sat with her back against the stone wall, her thick coat wrapped around Kaimin's motionless body. The firelight danced across his face, pale, exhausted, yet strangely peaceful. She gently touched his forehead. His skin was ice cold. The bandages across his shoulder were soaked with blood. Silently, An Nhien pressed her palm over the wound, trying to stem the bleeding. The moment her hand touched his skin, the pendant at her neck suddenly flared to life. A wave of warmth spread outward, soft as water. The bleeding began to slow, the torn flesh seemed to knit together. His breathing grew steadier. An Nhien stared at the light in shock. It was flowing out from her own hand. "What is this?" she whispered. The warmth reached her heart, but with it came a sharp pain, as if something inside her was being drained away. The brighter the light became, the darker her vision grew. She forced herself to stay conscious until the light finally faded. Kaimin exhaled deeply. When he opened his eyes, twilight had already dimmed the sky outside. "You?" He looked around, voice hoarse. "You saved me." An Nhien let out a tired, shaky laugh. "If you want to call it saving, I guess so. But maybe we just got lucky." "No, I felt it." He glanced at her hand. "There's something inside you that isn't normal." She lowered her eyes, saying nothing. The pendant on her chest had gone dark again, but the ache in her chest hadn't faded. "What do you think it is?" "That energy is just like the crystals we studied, the ones that can open the Inter-Realm Gate." "The Inter-Realm Gate?" "Yes. The door you walk through isn't a miracle. It's a secret project from an old government unit called TOC-VC. They tried to create a power source that connects different layers of space. When the gate opened, the end of the world began." A chill spread through An Nhien, from the soles of her feet to her heart. "You mean, I came from that gate?" "Not just came from it," his gaze deepened. "You might actually be the key that opens it." Silence fell. The wind howled outside, shaking loose a few sparks from the dying fire. An Nhien's chest felt heavy, full of fear and a strange, aching sorrow. "If I'm the cause," she said quietly, "then maybe I shouldn't exist at all." "No." Kaimin shook his head. "If you hadn't come back, I would have died. And if you truly are the key, then we need to stay together even more to find a way to end this." He spoke calmly, eyes steady. In the glow of the fading fire, they were like embers hidden beneath snow, cold on the surface, burning beneath. 3 days later, the resistance found them. Hang Sun Base had completely fallen, only a small group of survivors remained. An Nhien and Kaimin were taken to a northern shelter, a facility buried deep beneath the mountains, lit by pale green fluorescent lamps reflecting off steel walls. A gray-haired woman greeted them at the entrance. "Lieutenant Colonel Kaimin, I heard you were dead." "Seems some people were hoping for that," he replied with a faint smile. "Commander Trakdong, I need you to examine her." Trakdong looked An Nhien up and down, eyes sharp as blades. "The one who opened the gate." An Nhien nodded slightly. "I didn't mean to." "No one ever does." Her voice was cold. "That doesn't change the fact that the power inside you can either activate or destroy this entire world. Be careful, An Nhien." An Nhien clenched her hands. She suddenly felt like a live bomb everyone was afraid to touch. That night, when the others were asleep, Kaimin came to her room. He carried 2 cups of hot tea. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "No. I keep thinking, if that power caused all this, maybe I shouldn't be here at all." He put the cup in her hands. "Do you know, in this dying world, there are people killing each other just to possess what you carry. But you want to get rid of it. Maybe that's exactly why it chose you." She looked up. Their eyes met in the steam. "You make it sound like fate." "No," he said softly. "I just believe in someone who makes ginger soup for others in the dead of winter." She laughed under her breath, voice unsteady. "You still remember that?" "I don't think I ever forgot." Silence fell between them, warm, fragile. Outside, snow began to fall again. An Nhien watched the flakes melt on the window and felt something in her heart ease. In this frozen world, there was only one person who could still make her feel truly alive. Just as they were about to sleep, alarms blared. Red lights flashed along the corridor. Track Dong's voice echoed over the speakers. All defense units to your positions. Intruders from the eastern side, Luong's forces. Kai Min stood immediately, pulling on his coat. Stay in your room. Don't come out. Where are you going? If Luong made it this far, it means he's here for you. He gripped her shoulders, gaze unwavering. I won't let him take you. Before leaving, he added softly, An Nhien, don't be afraid of the power inside you. Learn to control it. That might be the only way either world survives. The door closed behind him. She sat there, mind spinning. Moments later, an explosion shook the entire facility. Red light pulsed overhead. She felt the floor tremble. The pendant at her neck began to glow again, brighter than ever. This time, the light wasn't gentle. It was fierce, dazzling, like a seed sprouting in the snow, sending rings of white radiance outward, ready to awaken something vast and terrifying. Amid the ashes, as long as a single seed is still alive, the world has not truly ended.